Howdy. So the bell ringer today, if you were to purchase tires for your new pickup truck that were larger than the factory suggests, how are the odometer and speedometer affected if the tires are low profile, which means are smaller than the factory installed tires? Now, this goes back to Friday's lesson. I'm sorry, Friday, not Friday. Wednesday's lesson last week. We had a test on Friday about what the effect of the tires. First of all, you have to know how to read a tire and what are the effects and what actually the odometer and the speedometer are calibrated on. Now, there's a specific dimension of that tire that actually helps. And if it's smaller, it affects the odometer and speedometer some way. And if it's larger than the factory installed tires, it affects a speedometer and odometer in another way. So let's think about that. Not going to give you the answer. You should already know it. So let's move on. Good things. Let me back up one more. Who has good things to share? Obviously, this is a stadium in Toronto. You see the Blue Jay symbol right there behind the thing. But good thing, Saturday, we actually spent, I'm not Saturday. Sunday, we actually got into the hives and we extracted about 4.5 gallons of honey, and we'll be putting that up for sale coming up here at the Moon Celebration in Calvert, which is not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. Anyway, let's move on. All right, today's lesson is on slugging average. Let's talk about a few questions. Who's your favorite Major League Baseball player, current or retired? Mine, kind of partial to the Astros players. Really liked Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, a couple other players that played for him, Derek Bell. I don't think he stayed with him forever. Ken Caminetti, of course, I think he passed away. But with some good players that played there. Nolan Ryan played there. Nolan Ryan from the late 80s and early 90s. Prolific pitcher. But anyway, let's talk about some of these players. Is your Major League favorite player a slugger? And for that matter, what is a slugger? And how do you compare different baseball players? And what statistics do you look at in order to compare them? And that's kind of what we're looking at. We're going to look at what a slugger is today because we're going to look specifically at slugging average. Now, one example of another weighted average in sports is a batter's slugging average. It's the percentage of bases per at-bats. So it's the bases divided by at-bats in baseball. Slugging average is calculated using the following equation. So think about this for a second. You hit a single, how many bases do you tag? You tag 1. You hit a double, how many bases do you tag? 2. Triple, 3, home run, 4. So if you see this equation up here, the number of bases you hit during a season, or the number of bases you get during a season, you get 1 times the number of singles you hit, and then you add 2 times the number of doubles, you add 3 times the number of triples, and then 4 times the number of home runs. We take the sum of those numbers, this weighted average, and we divide it by the total number of times that we're up at bat. So I want you to see this really closely. The batting average is totally different from the slugging average. Slugging average is bases over at bats, but the batting average is hits over at bats. So make sure you're clear in that difference, okay? Must be clear in that difference. All right. So each single has a weight of 1, each double has a weight of 2, each triple has a weight of 3, and a home run a weight of 4. An at-bat without a hit is a weight of 0. So you don't even have to put that in the calculation because you add 0 to the numerator, you get the same thing, whatever's there. It's a simple, the total number of bats or bases earned over the number of at-bats taken. Okay, and little wisdom right here by Babe Ruth. Every strike brings me closer to a home run. So if in his first season, the New York Yankees, Babe Ruth set a record for slugging averages that stood for more than 80 years. And this is a true story. In 1920, Ruth pounded 172 hits in 450 at-bats. I don't know why that says at-as, but I'll fix that. Do that right now. At-bats. Shame on me. B-N-T. Look at that. Done. All right. 458 at-bats. His hits consisted of 73 singles, 36 doubles, 9 triples, and 54 home runs, resulting in a total base count of 388. Okay, as you can see, we did the equation right here. 73 times 1 plus 36 times 2 plus 9 times 3 plus 54 times 4. When his total number of bases is divided by his total at-bats, the result is .847, his slugging percentage for the season. The record was broken in 2001 by Barry Bonds, who had 411 total bases and 476 at-bats for a slugging average of .863. But I did get these stats from the baseballalmanac.com. I'm going to put a little asterisk by Barry Bonds' name, and someone else broke it right around that same time. Mark McGwire did that too, and there just happens to be an asterisk by his name too. Won't have to tell you baseball fans what that asterisk stands for, but I think you get it. Let's move on. Anyway, Babe Ruth, a really good player. All right. Find the slugging average for a player with the following stats: 68 singles, 40 doubles, 4 triples, 16 home runs, and 320 at-bats. Okay? So we've got 68 times 1, because that's how many bases you get when you hit a single. 1 base times 68. Plus 2 times 40, because it's a double, you get 2 bases. Plus 4 times 3, plus 16 times 4. All this whole equation divided by 320. So we'll do the top part first. We get 224. We divide by 320. And his slugging average is 700. The answer is stated as a number over 1,000. So this would be the slugging average of 700. Now, we always list it with the decimal point and then the 3 numbers after the decimal point, just like we do with the batting average. And we'll call it that 3 numbers, like it's a batting average or a slugging average of that. So find the slugging average for the player with the following statistics. You can finger poll if you want. I wrote this to teach inside the classroom. Might have to adjust it in order to be a little more fruitful in the online format. So we got 90 singles, 28 doubles, 12 triples, and 26 home runs. So think of it this way: 90 singles times 1 plus 28 doubles times 2 plus 12 triples times 3, because that's the number of bases you get for each one, plus 26 home runs times 4. That sum of weighted averages is 286. We're going to divide that by 362. 286 divided by 362 is 790. So the answer is 790, number 3. Now, is it possible to have a slugging average of more than 1,000? Let's think about this. If for some reason every hit that a guy gets is a double and he gets a hit every time he goes up to bat, what would be a slugging average? Now, if you think about it for a second, he gets 2 bases for every double, right? And if every time he goes up to bat, he gets a double, it's 2 times the number of at-bats, right? So 2 times the number of at-bats. Let's say he goes up 20 times. 2 times 20, he gets 40 bases, but he went up to bat 20 times. So 40 divided by 20 is what? It's 2. So yes, it's possible. Of course it's possible. All hits taken is anything above a single. There are no at-bats without a hit. Whenever bases earned averages above 1 and the number of hits is equal to the number of at-bats, the slugging average is also above 1. So a slugging average of 500 or higher is considered a sign of an excellent player. Suppose a player has 4 triples and a batting average of 300 and 400 at-bats. Determine a combination of singles, doubles, and home runs that gives this player a slugging average higher than 500. Okay, so this is pretty simple. I don't want this to really scare you away. You're just given a suggested answer. So any answer that answers this correctly is correct. If you get this kind of question in a multiple choice format, plug in the numbers you get for each single, double, and home run and see which one gives you a slugging average higher than 500. It's that simple, folks. You just eliminate the answers that don't work. You know how to do the formula. It's written right here. You just plug in the numbers. So he has a slugging average of 500. He wants or higher. Okay. He has 4 triples and a batting average of 300 and 400 at-bats. All right. First of all, what is a batting average? A batting average is total number of hits over the number of bats, right? Hits over at bats. If it's 0.300 and he had 400 at bats, we can easily determine the number of hits. Okay? So it's 0.300 equals hits over 400. So all we have to do to find the hits is take 400 and multiply it by 0.300 or 0.3. So he has 120 hits, okay? 120 hits. And it says he has 4 triples and a batting average of 300. So out of those 120 hits, 4 of them are triples. So the rest that remains, he has 116 hits that you have to divvy up between singles, doubles, and home runs. That gives a player a slugging average of higher than 500. So you could say all of them are home runs, and you know it's going to work. But let's be a little more realistic. Let's spread it out between singles, doubles, and home runs. Let's say out of the 116 left, he gets 40 singles, okay? And he gets, I don't know, let's say 50 singles, not 40, 50 singles. That leaves us 66. He gets, let's say, 46 doubles. All right. And then on home runs, that's 96. That's 20 home runs. We'll check that out. 50 plus 46 is 96 plus 20 is 116. So we're good there. So that means 50 singles. That's 50 added to 46 times 2, because that's the number of doubles. And he said he had 4 triples times 3, and then 20 home runs times 4. So that's 50 plus 46 times 2. Let's see, that is 92. 4 times 3, that's 12. And 20 times 4, that's 80. 2 and 2 is 4. 9, 10, 13, 234. Okay, so if it's hits over at bats, that's at bats. But bases over at bats is slugging average. With this example, we had 234 bases over 400. Well, we know if 500 is anything that's over half of the number on the denominator. So if we had 200 or more hits over 400 at bats, we have over a 500 slugging average. Well, we had 234, so that answer actually qualifies. So 234, we can say that 50 singles, 46 doubles, the 4 triples we were given, and 20 home runs does net us a 500 slugging average. All right, so here's another example, 60, 41, and 15. It's just another example. Like I said at the bottom, you can see down here it says there are many choices. And I gave you another example. Notice that I see here 300 and 400 at-bats, if the player had 120 hits. If the player had 4 triples, then the total of singles, doubles, and home runs is 116. See that? All right, so still using 400 at-bats, what is the maximum number of singles this player could have with a slugging average between 500 and 700? And we're going to justify our answer. He'd have to have between 200 and 280 singles, assuming he does not have any doubles, triples, or home runs. When you think about that, he can only have 200 singles, all right? But can he have a 500 batting average? Yes, 200 over 400 is 500, and 280 over 400 is 700. When you think about that, easily determines that. It has to be no doubles, triples, or home runs, because singles is 1 base. So that's exactly what they're asking for. With 1 base, that 200 at-bats is going to get, or that 200 singles is going to give you 200 bases over 400 at-bats. 200 divided by 400 is 0.5. That's your 500 slugging average. The 280 singles is 280 bases. Divided by 400 is 0.7, or that's 700 slugging average we're looking for. So it would be between 200 and 280. Oh, I got to fix that. All right, I'm going to launch you with this quote from Pete Rose. This actually applies for just about any sport, or for that matter, any academic discipline. Specifically, in this case, I'm talking about mathematics. My father taught me that the only way you can make good at anything is to practice, and then practice some more. So there will be an assignment in the Google Classroom. Please go and take care of that now. And as always, be blessed, be a blessing.